Samsung held their big August event today. This is the one that I pay attention to because we're getting down and dirty into the details of their new phones and their new tablets. And if you're an artist who likes to draw on Android, oh boy, there's some big stuff in this one for you today. Hello, my name is Brad. I review tech for creative professionals, and I like to review anything that comes with a pen. And boy, did Samsung give us some great new tech today that comes with pens. Let's dig into this with our first segment. What do we know? That sounded more ominous than I expected it to. New products from the top. There's new phones, the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra and the Galaxy Note 20, no name after it. There's also the newly announced Galaxy Z Fold 2. There's new tablets. We have the GalaxyTab S7 and the GalaxyTab S7 Plus. Clip Studio comes pre-installed on both of those tablets. Yes, Clip Studio. It's coming to Android. Big news. We get some new Galaxy Buds, and we also get the Galaxy Watch 3. Now, these new phones are clearly the stars of the show. The Galaxy Z Fold 2 is going to get a lot of the attention because it's a newer product. It's neat. It's interesting. It folds. Because the Fold doesn't have a pen, I'm not going to be focusing on it too much here, but it does look cool. Has some great specs. I believe they're going to be doing a full event for the Fold sometime in September to kind of go into the details, but this was a good tease. So with the Fold out of the way, let's get into the good stuff. Let's talk about the Note 20 and the Note 20 Ultra. Now, these are two completely different phones. I shouldn't say completely different. Spec-wise on the inside, they're not totally different, but on the outside, we have a slightly different design between the two. The Note 20 Ultra actually looks a lot like last year's Note 10. We've got curved edges to the sides of the screen. Of course, the pen still tucks into the bottom. I believe they've moved it from one side to the other side. The standard Note design introduces slightly more rounded edges, less of a boxy look to it. And the screen sizes between these two devices aren't that different. The Ultra is definitely bigger. It's a 6.9-inch screen with a higher 120 hertz refresh rate, whereas the standard only has a 6.7-inch screen only. That's still a huge screen. But they're keeping that screen at the normal 60 hertz refresh rate. And of course, you're not a big flagship unless you have a giant bump along the back for the camera. They doubled the width of this thing from last year, and they've managed to put the sensors, which were kind of level with the phone on last year's device, into that bump as well. And it looks like the bump on the Ultra comes out a lot further than it does on the standard Note 20. One thing that was really interesting about this event, unlike events in years past, is they didn't really talk about the camera all that much. They mentioned that there is a new sensor in there, but that's about it. That's something that's been a big selling point for these flagship phones, and they just glossed over it. There are some benefits to actually making that bump physically higher. The more space you give a camera lens, the better you could make that lens. So I would assume there are some benefits there. We'll have to actually get our hands on it and test it and see. They're really pushing this Mystic Bronze color this year. This seems to be their flagship color, and they've spread it across the entire line. I think it looks really good. Almost looks gold until they called it bronze. I thought it was gold. Also on the Ultra is a micro SD card slot, so if you want to expand your storage, I don't believe that slot is on the standard Note 20S. And sorry folks, there is no headphone jack here. Why am I apologizing? It's not my choice. I didn't take away the headphone jack. Samsung did. Let's talk about that refresh rate for a second here, because I think this is something that could really impact the drawing experience, and I have some thoughts on it. So there's a couple things. Samsung specifically talked about the pen latency and dramatically improved it. On last year's Note, it was a 42 millisecond pen latency. They've pulled that all the way down to 9 milliseconds. That's a big jump down. That's not a jump. It's a fall down. It's a step down. Now, when you take that improved latency and you combine it with that better refresh rate on the screen, it's probably going to be pretty imperceptible in terms of where your pen tip is and where that line is behind it. You're going to have no lag at all, at least in theory. The problem that I ran into on the phone in the past, and I've ran into on tablets, is it doesn't really matter how good that refresh rate or that latency is on that pen, because if you use the Notes app, even in my older phone from last year, the latency was fine. The latency was fantastic in Samsung's own Note app. The problem came in is when I was using other drawing apps that just aren't optimized to take advantage of that hardware, and there still was a significant amount of lag in almost every other drawing program that I used. So when I actually needed that lack of lag or that better latency, it wasn't available to me. So that's something I'm going to be looking pretty deeply into when I get my hands on this phone to review it. So I'm excited about these phones. I'm going to be reviewing the Ultra. It comes up for pre-orders tomorrow. I think they're going to be shipping by August 21st. Probably take me a week or two of use, so I'll have it ready by the end of this month, beginning of September. All right, let's talk about the Tab S7. There are two of these. There is the Tab S7 and the Tab S7 Plus. Just like the phones, there are slightly different specs between these two devices, and if you get the Plus, you're going to get a lot more bells and whistles. Now, taking a look at the prices for these devices, they seem to be competitively priced. They're priced just under the price points of the iPad Pros. But something to keep in mind is that the S Pen is packed in with these devices. It's not an additional cost. The Plus is a 12.4-inch screen. It is a Super AMOLED screen, and you're also getting that 120 Hz refresh rate that you get on the Note Ultra. One thing to note here is the smaller tablet doesn't get all of those bells and whistles. You're just getting a standard LED screen, and you're only getting a 60 Hz refresh rate on that one as well. But hey, how about that S Pen? This is a bigger S Pen. This is something that attaches magnetically to the back, and it looks like it also attaches magnetically along the side as well. I would imagine that they're taking many of the Bluetooth features that come with the S Pen and bringing those over to these new tablets as well. I don't use them too much. They allow you to like take a photo from a distance or swipe between your photos using the pen, and there's some gestures and things like that. In order to draw, you don't need to charge the battery in that pen. The battery is just for those Bluetooth features. They didn't say, but I'm guessing that if you store the pen along the back, that battery is going to charge, but if you store it along the side, it's not going to charge. Now, some folks like the fact that on the phones, the pen's tucked nicely into the device, but if you're drawing with this pen for a long, extended period of time, having that standard size, not that super thin pen, is so much more comfortable to use, so I'm glad they didn't go with the tuck-inside pen that they've used on some of their laptops and obviously the phones. Samsung also showed off a brand new keyboard cover. The cool thing about this one is that it breaks in half. Break is probably the wrong word here. Splits in half. The back half of it is a stand, so you can actually use it as a stand to set it up on the table, and the other half is the actual keyboard part that you type on. Last year, Apple released something in their operating system called Sidecar, which allows you to use your iPad as a second screen for your Apple computer, for your Mac computer. It looks like Samsung's doing something similar for Windows computers this year, allowing you to use your GalaxyTab also as a second monitor on Windows computers. Okay, let's talk about the thing that I'm really excited about. Clip Studio is coming to Android. I may have flipped out a little bit on Discord and said some incoherent things because I was so excited. Nobody knew what I was yelling at, but to my credit, I pulled it together by the time I posted it to Twitter. I was very excited. This was literally 4 seconds of the entire event. Clip Studio is coming to Android. It is going to be preloaded on these Galaxy Tabs. I've mentioned this in many of my Android reviews, that the drawing ecosystem is really the main thing that's holding Android back right now, not the hardware. I think Samsung's doing a killer job on the hardware side of things. It's the apps that seem to be lacking. We have seen a ton of progress. In the past year, we've seen Huion try to make their own version of Procreate. Apps like Krita are now in beta or early access, so you could go to the App Store and try that out. And now, Clip Studio, this is huge. This is a pro-level app that is now available on Android. This is something that we've desperately needed for a long time. So what does this mean, preloaded on the Tab S7? Well, there is going to be a 6-month trial that's going to be available for free to anybody who buys one of these new devices. Clip Studio isn't on the App Store yet, so I can't download it and actually check it out and see what the pricing model is going to be. It is a subscription price on the iPad, and I would imagine that it's probably going to reflect that subscription. I believe it's $5 a month if you want to pay monthly, and it's $25 for the year. I know a lot of folks really don't like the subscription model. Totally understand, but I think this is an area where if you want good things, you got to pay for good things. Money buys development, which gives you better software. This is the area Android's been lacking, so if it takes a subscription-based software, and I think $25 a year, if you're using this professionally every single day, that's a very reasonable price to pay for the software you're using. There are already free drawing apps available on Android. You have Medibang, you have iBest Paint to X. What we need is a good, high-quality professional drawing app, and that's what we're getting with Clip. I'm excited. Will Clip be available on phones as well? I'm not quite sure yet. I'm not sure I'd want to use it on a phone because there's just so many menus and stuff like that. It is available for the iPhone, which points to the idea that they're open to it. I wouldn't be too surprised. I don't know. We'll see. All right, big question. When is the Tab S7 shipping? They haven't said officially. If the last 2 years have been any indication, usually they ship a week or two after the phones ship. So I would expect an early September release date for these. So what else happened at this event? I think the stuff that really stood out to me, the big thing for me, was some of the Xbox integration that they're doing with their devices. I already have the Xbox Game Pass subscription service, and what that lets me do is download games from Xbox. It's kind of like Netflix for games, except the games don't stream, you download them. But Microsoft is changing that. Starting in September, they're going to be launching something called xCloud, which is part of Game Pass. All of these words get confusing. What's important to know is any of those games that are on Game Pass, if you're paying that monthly subscription cost, you will be able to stream to your Samsung devices, and that is so cool. There's so many times at home where I'm kicked off the TV because other people want to watch it and I can't play my games. Now I can play on my phone. Now I can play on my tablet. I think that's kind of cool. I have pretty good internet here. I should be able to do it. I don't have any data caps or anything, so should be good for me. It's probably not for everybody, but if it is for you, something to look forward to. Then there's the Galaxy Bud Lives. We've got a new design here. This is not my area of expertise. I have the old ones. They sound good to me. I guess they're fine, but what do I know? Apple's been making a fortune selling the AirPods, so everybody and their mother has been releasing their own versions of those devices for the last couple years. This is Samsung's latest. I think the coolest feature is that if you bury one of these things in your backyard, when you wake up in the morning, it'll turn into a giant beanstalk. I read that on Twitter. It's got to be true. Then we had the Galaxy Watch 3. This is like the headphones. I guess it's cool. It's not really my thing. I'm not really into that ecosystem. Looks nice if you're looking for a watch and you have a Samsung phone. Yeah, check it out. So that is the Samsung event in a nutshell. What did you think? What do you think about Clip Studio coming to Android? I'm excited. Are you excited? I hope it comes out soon so I can review it. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days.